Death is an inevitable part of life, and that is especially true in video games. Perhaps you can take an educated guess based on your knowledge of stereotypes and tropes that a character isn't long for this world. And in some special cases, the game will outright tell you that the character is gonna die just to really mess with your constitution. And worst of all, even when said biting of the dust is an almost nailed-on certainty, you can still fall in love with who that character is in their remaining time, making it all the more difficult when it comes to saying goodbye. Yes, video game writers are monsters, so let's take a look at the times they scrambled up our emotions after warning us repeatedly to not get attached. Oh, and here's your spoiler warning, in case that wasn't clear. I am the harbinger of death, Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 video game deaths you knew were coming that still broke you. 10. TIDUS, Final Fantasy X. TIDUS is the greatest hero to never technically exist. After a brutal war, one Yu Yevon created a dream version of the metropolis Zanarkand and brought it to life. TIDUS is part of this imagined Zanarkand, meaning he's never truly alive or dead. Yu Yevon became corrupted over time and now resides in Sin, a huge monster that was supposed to defend Zanarkand. You know you must defeat Yu Yevon, but you also know that will mean the end of TIDUS. Despite knowing his fate as part of Yu Yevon's creation, TIDUS sets out with his friends to stop Sin from destroying more cities. They battle their way to a confrontation with Yu Yevon, eventually defeating him. And of course, that spells the end for TIDUS. He shares one last moment with Yuna, who confesses her love for him, and then he fades away in front of his friends, at least knowing that the world is safe once again. 9. The Boss, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Set as the earliest installment in the chronology, some fans had already made the educated guess that the boss would not survive due to Snake's handler in the first MGS being a completely different person in Big Boss. The boss had been your mentor, but after an apparent switch of allegiance to Russia in gifting them the use of nuclear weaponry, it became Snake's task to take her down. Throughout the game, you will fight the Soviets before they get a chance to deploy these warheads, with the final satisfying confrontation with the boss at the forefront of everyone's minds. It is the circumstances behind her death, however, that broke everyone. Before the killing blow, the boss gives Snake a microfilm to watch once he returns home. On this microfilm, it is revealed that the boss was never supposed to be branded an out-and-out traitor to the US. She was supposed to act as a mole inside Russia, but the detonation of the nuclear shell sealed her fate to the public. Everyone, including the boss herself, knew she had to die to prevent a war, and she accepted her fate with honor. 8. Cortana, Halo 4. Although Halo 5 decided to ruin this meaningful moment by bringing Cortana back to life as an antagonist, Halo 4 did exceptionally well in giving her character a worthy send-off. Cortana had long been the witty, lovable sidekick of Master Chief, with the duo displaying lovely chemistry and developing an incredibly close bond with each other. Cortana begins to malfunction and explains that she is experiencing rampancy, a feature in her design that means she will slowly lose her virtual mind after 7 years. In a more human sense, she's dying. As the game progresses, Cortana shows growing signs that she is not in complete control of herself, and it becomes a race to defeat the Didact so we can turn our attention to saving our beloved AI companion. Master Chief and Cortana resort to using a nuclear warhead, but before the bomb can detonate, however, Cortana saves Master Chief by sacrificing herself. The two share a beautifully touching moment. And really, that is all the legacy that Cortana should have left behind. 7. Johnny, To the Moon. In the world of To the Moon, a company named Sigmund Corp utilizes special technology that can create artificial memories for wish fulfillment before death. The latest patient of Dr. Rosaline and Dr. Watts is the widowed Johnny, whose desire is to go to the moon. Before slipping into a coma, he hired the pair to help him remember why he had this desire in the first place. With Johnny on his deathbed, there is a race against time to bring him the peace he seeks. It turns out that Johnny had a twin brother named Joey who had died in an accident, and his mother placed him on beta blockers to help deal with the tragedy. The drugs worked, inducing memory loss. This, however, caused him to forget his initial meeting with his wife, River. As children, the two stargazed together, agreeing to meet in that very spot the following year. Johnny promised that, should he forget, they would regroup on the moon. So, as he reached the end of the game, Johnny's last memory before he passes away is presented as one of him and River entering a rocket, ready to fly to the moon together. It's truly beautiful, heartbreaking stuff. 6. VESEMIR, The Witcher 3. VESEMIR was the eldest Witcher still residing in Kaer Morhen and personally trained Geralt, Lambert and Eskel in their craft. In The Witcher 3, he aids Geralt's hunt for Yen, and opts to return home to hide the path to Kaer Morhen from the warring factions in the Northern Kingdom when she's found. Vesemir does not feature in the game again until Geralt too returns home, firstly with Yen and later with Ciri. With the wild hunt after Ciri, they realise they must make a stand, and there is no place like home that would provide them with a better chance. All seems lost once Yen's magic fails and a magical explosion freezes everyone bar Ciri and Vesemir. Then Vesemir is captured and Ciri is given an ultimatum. Hand herself over or Vesemir will be killed. The old wolf takes choice out of the equation. He stabs Imlerith in the stomach, who in turn snaps Vesemir's neck. A harsh end to a harsh life. 5. Sarah, The Last of Us. Rare is it that you see a list of the best games of all time without seeing The Last of Us mentioned, and it's this kind of emotional gut punch that seals the deal on its infamy. The game opens in a quaint suburban home with daughter Sarah and father Joel, with the two quickly establishing an incredibly close bond between them. However, zombies come in and ruin it as always. The outbreak of the cordyceps infection becomes uncontrollable overnight, and so the duo, along with Sarah's uncle Tommy, attempt to flee the city but end up crashing their car. With Sarah injured, Joel is forced to carry her to safety whilst Tommy provides cover. They reach the bridge blockade and are met by a soldier. After a brief radio conversation, he then opens fire on Joel and Sarah. Tommy comes to their rescue before he can finish the job, but Joel discovers that Sarah has been shot. Crying out in pain and fear, Joel watches as his daughter bleeds out in his arms. 4. Chloe Price, Life is Strange. Really, you can't go messing around with time and alternate realities and expect everything to work out hunky-dory. Life is Strange opens in a photography classroom where Max wakes from a nightmare about a tremendous storm on the coast of her hometown in Arcadia Bay. After class, she goes to a bathroom where she's witness to a shooting. She lunges from her hiding spot and accidentally activates her ability to rewind time. Using her ability, she manages to save the girl, who later transpires to be her childhood best friend, Chloe. Max can't keep putting off reality forever though. The storm is here, and she is left with two options. Let the town be destroyed and everyone they know die, or travel back to the beginning of the week and allow Chloe to be murdered. The true ending results from the latter choice, with Max, Chloe's family, and many of their friends attending her funeral. Chloe deserved better. 3. Arthur Morgan, Red Dead Redemption 2. It was fair to assume that any of the members of the Vanderlinde gang in the prequel not to feature in Red Dead Redemption would not be making it out alive, including protagonist Arthur Morgan. Arthur was a trusted deputy of Dutch, having been a member of his gang since the age of 14. But throughout the game, Arthur becomes more and more disillusioned with the life that he is leading and the man that he has become. After Arthur collapses in the street, he is rushed to a doctor who declares that he is suffering from tuberculosis, the leading cause of death in the world at the time. Our beloved outlaw knows he has little life left to lead, and so tries to better himself and those around him in his final days. Eventually, Arthur is mortally wounded following a confrontation with Micah, where he is left to either die peacefully watching the sunrise or executed in the mud, depending on how you played the game. He may not have been a good man throughout the entirety of his life, but Arthur Morgan had a good heart, and did deserve the chance to right his wrongs. 2. Lee Everett, The Walking Dead. Telltale's The Walking Dead places you in the shoes of Lee Everett, a convict during the beginning of the Walker Apocalypse. Whilst looking for help, Lee comes across 8-year-old Clementine and becomes her adoptive guardian. Together, they link up with other survivors and travel all over in their vain attempts to find safety. Lee would do absolutely anything to protect Clem, even give his own life. And hey, wouldn't you know it, he gets the chance to prove that. After Clementine is abducted by a stranger, Lee is bitten on the wrist by a walker. With his fate sealed, Lee makes one final push to retrieve his surrogate daughter, and although he saves her, he's condemned to turn or to die. Giving Clem the choice of putting him out of his misery or sparing her the trauma of having to kill him, it is a very emotional ending to a great character. 1. Joel Green, That Dragon Cancer. This game doesn't wait for the end to break you. That Dragon Cancer is based around the developers' real-life cancer diagnosis of their 1-year-old child, Joel. Joel tried to combat the disease, exceeding his life expectancy by 4 years. The narrative revolves around their experiences as a family, including the initial diagnosis. Words fall short when finding ways of describing this game due to the heavy content, but with Joel's cancer getting worse with each passing year, and a portion of the game having you discuss end-of-life care, the inevitable seemed in sight. In many small parts of gameplay, you are simply trying to bring your young son joy, whether it be blowing bubbles or playing with the dog. Overall, it beautifully captures familial bonds, the innocence of children, and just how cruel and unfair the world can be at times. It is a touching reminder of how we must try our hardest to make the best of everything good. Rest in peace, Joel.